I just tried to use a patch cable for something that wasn't a patch. And you know what? The only thing that got patched in was frustration. That's what happened right there. Was a lot of genuine frustration was what happened there. Okay. Hi everybody, welcome to the podcast. Wow, that sure started good, and then it's amazing when you take away the reverb, you really become the person that you are. But you gotta love the person you are without reverb. Anytime they show someone like a singer, like, oh, look what this singer sounds like without this stuff. It doesn't sound that as good, does it? It's like, yeah, that's why every singing alone sounds bad. I'll die on that mound. It's not a hill, it's a mound, because I'm the only person on there. But anytime singing's alone, it's bad. It's always bad, okay? Singing is not supposed to be alone. Even like the only time singing's okay alone, if it's like a 4-year-old or a 3-year-old who's being super cute and they're singing it like wrong. And that's not even singing. That's more like that's the kid. It's not the music. We're not like, oh, that's my favorite music. Oh, solo singing it's just bad. It's terribly bad. So of course, and especially without the reverb, yeah. Because reverb, this is just like adding people. It's more of me. We duplicated me, but there's more of me. Like, you don't go see it when you go see an a cappella group. That shit's bad. And that's multiples. Also, it's not that bad. It's just kind of cheesy, whatever it is. It's more for the people doing it than it is for the people listening, right? Can we admit that the a cappella thing is not for listening as much as it is for the people doing it? It's like most improv. Most improv is bad, but the good stuff is great. What am I talking about? Hi, it's me. Stephen Goblower. Stephen, my actual name is Jeffrey Jackson Stevenson, also known as Kevin Tipcorn, also known as Jimmy Jason Jeffrey Beast Bringer. I'm the Beast Bringer. I have been notoriously known to bring a beast. In which case, it's actually not so bad now because we have such a good relationship with Beast that it's not a big deal to have a Beast coming around. Hi, this is the Live to Tape podcast, also known as the Executive Buffet, sometimes deeper known as Daddy's Big Red Truck to those in the know, because it's about a truck, a big red truck, a classic truck, not like a new truck. It's got to be a classic truck it's made of mostly steel, the kind that can handle a dent, that can wear a dent. I would say that's the main thing about a truck. If it can wear a dent proudly, if it looks good with a dent, that's a good truck. If the dent makes it look like, that's not a truck. That's like a something else. Man, I've got so many gripes about cars. I think about cars way too much. I've said this before. Maybe I have. Have I said this before? I don't know. I think the no tent look is coming back. I'm doing it. Next car I get, I'm gonna make it clear as all hell. Yeah. Oh, but Johnny, it's gonna get hot in there. Oh, I have air conditioning. It's a new car. It has great air conditioning. Oh, but when you park it, it's gonna get hot. It's already gonna get hot. Who cares? Park in the shade. Put up one of those blockers. You know what people want tent for? Because they want to they want to hide in their car. They want to hide. They want to hide in their car because everybody's too scared of it. We're all scared of each other now. No tent. That way, when you see somebody, you make a mistake, you can go, oh my God, I'm sorry. Or they're going to go like to you, oh, I'm so sorry. And you're not going to get mad. So you'll be like, oh, that's a starving mom. I was going to say something else, but I said starving. It's a starving mom and her baby. That's why she had a problem. But when they got that tent, you can't see who's in there, so you don't know. So what you do is you assume it's the worst. You assume it's like this person or that person or something like that. You just assume it's your enemy. It's someone who looks like whoever is your historical enemy in life. That's what you think it is. I think if we take away tent, if cops really started enforcing tent like hardcore, unless you have medical tent is a fun idea. Yes, officer, this tent is medical. I have a note from my doctor that says I don't have to go through TSA, and I also have a medical tent. It's got to be a thing. Everything's medical now. All problems are medical. If we took away the tent, I think we'd all just generally like each other more. I'm saying it right now. This is a great podcast. This is Daddy's Big Red Truck. It's the Executive Buffet. It's live to tape. It's formerly all these things. It's here we are again on another weekly basis. We're hitting all the marks. We're hitting the marks to deliver you the fine quality you expect. I got to tell you right now out loud that within the next 6 weeks, I plan to start doing at least half of this podcast in literal darkness. I'm talking about like the lights go off and we've got like infrared night vision cameras and we're talking in the dark because I think that personally that we'd be more comfortable. But that's neither here nor there because it hasn't happened yet, but it will happen. So look out for that. This is a great episode of the podcast. Also, you should note if you're going to go to South by Southwest, for the film portion, come see my movie Mermaid. I'm not sure what the date of the premiere is just yet, but probably like March 7th, 8th, or 9th. Maybe the 10th, but one of those dates. And if you're not going to South by Southwest, plan on going. There you go. How about that? This is a great episode of the podcast. My guest is someone who I've wanted to have on as a guest. Actually, that's, I think, one of the original reasons we started working together was because I asked him to be a guest because he's a super knowledgeable, extremely hilarious guy. He's also the person who we oftentimes hear and see behind the camera on this podcast. Here he is today with me. Can I say? There's so many words I want to say that are the wrong. It's Radu Bondar, by the way. It's Radu, the Romanian Thunder, a.k.a. the landlord. I was going to say the inimitable. I think that's right. I'm not looking at anybody right now. I'm just pretending like that God is out there to answer me when I go, is that right? Inimitable? That's a fun word. Inimitable, 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 inimitable,
Radu Bondar. What a great name to say. Radu Bondar is here today. Radu Bondar visits to the podcast today, right?
Great. Did we do it? Oh, good.
I'm obsessed with the guy who's like going to Vietnam today as a tourist.
What do you mean, like today, or like
2025?
currently?
And he's like a Midwestern tourist, like your
Right.
style guy. And his wife calls him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm just hearing the shit."
Oh yeah,
He still calls Vietnam the shit.
this shit.
Just surrounded by shitheads. It's real.
Was he in the war?
No, but he observed it, and he heard people calling it
The
the
shit,
shit.
yeah.
So he was like, "That's what it's called." Right?
That's definitely like the funniest line from Rushmore. I feel like was what he says. Isn't that in the what movie was that where some guy goes, "Were you in the shit?"
Were you in the shit? Yeah.
Wasn't that? Didn't he ask Bill Murray's character that?
He might have. Rushmore, set in Houston.
Was it?
Did you know that? Yeah.
I should know that.
Wes Anderson's hometown.
There's also another great movie set in Houston. God, what
Barely
is it?
any.
There's well, it's not a great movie. It's a bad movie, but it's like
I love those.
spectacularly bad. It's like an '80s movie about like this alien that has like a flying. Was that bad?
No.
You just grimace.
I saw the paper thing.
Yeah.
I was like, I have a target now.
I would get rid of that paper thing.
You're right. No, hold on.
No, you gotta do it the other way. Watch. Put it down. Remove it. This is the Overlord.
Damn, where'd you learn this shit?
No,
Where'd
that's
you
what
learn
it
coffee
looks
like
looks
that?
like the
big dog?
Overlord is watching us.
I do. How come we? That symbol and the eye
Yeah.
on the money. How can we do that? And then we just tell people that everything's fine. There's no secret societies. There's no. That's some bullshit.
The eye on the money.
The eye on the money's so scary.
Yeah, I mean, they really just went all in with Illuminati symbolism, didn't they?
Unnecessary.
Yeah.
But like, there's a lot of Freemasons. Are you a Freemason?
I thought about it.
Everyone thinks about it.
I mean, it's just a lot of. It's sort of like volunteering. It's like you want to do it, but it takes so much time. Like that's kind of what it is. Yeah, because there's no barrier to entry really.
There's a few buried in one. You got to know a guy.
Okay.
Classic 70s
Well, this is
drug dealer rules.
starting off now. We're starting the podcast. This is a teaching podcast. This is gonna be I'm learning.
A learning moment.
Because that's sort of our relationship. Is I learn facts and I teach you feelings.
That's true. Yeah, we do a cultural
You're right.
exchange.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we do.
Okay, so I want to know this now.
We have two
What-
different sides of the autism spectrum that we connect
Yeah.
together, and we make half a functioning white
That
person.
is an interesting thing. I didn't think about that. Yeah, the opposite sides of the spectrum.
Damn, you on that side of the yard,
Yeah.
boy.
Well, I want to hear about. I want to hear about the Freemasons.
Well, you got to know a guy,
Who's in there? That's the same as
Already
the
in.
Magic Castle.
basically.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
That's a lot of things.
Thin. Then you got to believe in a God, not necessarily Christian.
Right, because they're faith based, right?
Yes. Which
So it's like the Elks Lodge, right?
I don't know how you test that one.
You don't test it. It's just you say.
scare a guy.
You have to say. You have to ask, and if they say yes, then that's how it works, right?
But like I don't like when they leave it open interpretation, because then some shithead like me can come in and be like, yeah, I believe in a God, it's me, and he's like shitty. He's
Yeah,
a
but
shittier version of me. And he's
Isn't
dumb.
everyone a shithead though? If that's the
And
barrier.
they just have to let you in. They're like, I guess you
Yeah.
pray to a dumber version of yourself.
It's just those two things.
I think there's a third God something, and then you have to get down with like a bunch of weird sex rituals. I'm pretty sure.
I
I'm
think
pretty.
that it's
I don't know
actually. I think it's boring as shit, and that's the problem with
until
the
level 37, and then
Right.
it's so horny.
But you can't get there. It doesn't even. You can't get to level 37 unless you have the grandson of a Bush.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yes.
You have to be part of the people who stole the gold from underneath the towers in 9/11. You know about that one, right?
Wait a second.
Did you ever see Loose Change?
Teach me something here.
Did you
Wait,
ever see
Louis.
Loose Change?
Yeah. The Michael. What's his name? Or what wasn't him?
No, this is not a guy's name.
Not a
who
guy.
made it. This is like some. It's a
It's
conspiracy
a fucked
doc.
up. Yeah, fucked up. Loose change 9/11.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, it was. I watched it. Oh God, probably 20 years ago. But it was.
I feel like some people watched on YouTube, and some people had like a hardcover like DVD thing.
God, I don't know. I don't remember, but it was definitely the synopsis at the end of it was, why did 9/11 happen? It's so the Bush family could steal the gold that was underneath the towers. That's really what they thought was like the whole. It's like flat Earth, where
Yeah, but it was presented so like
Yeah.
dryly and sterile. You know, they're
Yeah.
like, obviously Israel's involvement in placing the gold bars was some sort of
something like
minimalist.
that. Jet fuel can't melt steel beams, kind of thing.
They used to be boring. Doug Stanhope makes a point now about how like the coolest conspiracy theories were like presented by a guy that like seemed smart.
Yeah.
And now it's just like your vet online. He's like, Q says.
Q's coming back, I think.
I don't know if he ever left. I think he was just like a guy wanted for sex crimes that's living in Southeast Asia. And he's like, this will be a good distraction.
Is it Gary Glitter?
I think he's a glitter type. I think
he's
he's
still alive.
a
Gary Glitter?
glitter-esque. Well, his family's still around, and they're still upset.
They are.
I think so.
The Glitters.
The Glitters.
John Glitter.
Now that's a good sitcom.
The Glitters.
Yeah, it's your father's just been publicly accused like of a bunch of sex crimes and stuff, and you, your sister, mother, whatever, are like just trying to keep it together, and then maybe some extra character moves in. You know that sitcom move? They gotta live with us.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, one of my dad's victims. the court order. Like, well, well, this is awkward.
Oh, that's so great. The
Do
victim
you like soup?
played by Kato Kalin.
It's called Soup and Sandwich. Soup and Sandwich would be the best name for a show. I mean, it's a guy who loves soup and a guy who loves sandwiches, and it's
The dad
It's like
was
the
a
Odd
serial
Couple.
molester.
that's soup. Sloppy soup. They call him Sloppy Soupy.
And his largest victim by mass, he's like a
Yeah,
large guy,
a big boy.
now is to live with and protect the family.
A big boy.
This is on the rails.
I want to know about Romania.
It is the most interesting buffer state. It's
So what's a buffer state?
a buffer state's a country that you pretend to care about because
Were
you're
you
like,
born there?
I was born in there.
You were born
in the
what-
shit.
What city? What city?
What state, city?
I don't know. I was about to say what state, but then I realized they don't really have states. Or
We
if
have
they-
regions.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's like you got him, but come on.
Normally, I would agree with you.
Come on now.
Normally, I would agree with you, but Nosferatu's in the news, so Transylvania matters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that Romania?
That's the middle
Damn.
section of Romania that we fight with Hungary over. Hungary claims it's
Oh.
theirs.
Still?
Still.
The amount of places that claim each other's land like
And it's shitty. Like watching Romania and Hungary fight over
Yeah.
that. It's like watching two homeless people fight over a dead cat. And you're like, what are you going to do with that? And
it's
they're like,
is it called
something terrible.
the paprika conflict?
Yeah. No, it's where they're going to do the Holocaust. That's what they want to
Okay.
do with it. That's why this land is important.
Hungary wants to do that.
Well, they did. We both countries participated in the wrong side of World War II.
They did?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, at the start of World War II, a couple of countries were like, I guess these Germans are probably going to win. And so we just like threw in with them. Plus, we were already like deeply
Really?
anti-Semitic as a population.
At what point? How close is Romania to Kazakhstan?
Not that close.
Not that close.
Texas to New York.
Oh, that's pretty far. Damn.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Kazakhstan is Central Europe. Sorry,
Yeah.
Central Asia. We're Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
So we're by Ukraine. We're by Moldova. We're by Hungary to the left of us. Serbia down here, and then Bulgaria. We don't even speak about them, but
Why? What's wrong with Bulgaria?
no, they're amazing. It's funny to pretend to have regional conflict.
I knew a Bulgarian girl once. She seemed like anyone else. She seemed like she could have been Hungarian.
They all should just be one country. It should all just be Yugoslavia too. This time, no Serbia. But we keep fighting over, goat conflicts and
Right.
nonsense.
So Romania is a former USSR or no?
No, it was always
own
kind of
thing.
dominated by the Soviets, and they
Yeah.
took a little chunk of it, the top part of Moldova, and they made that part of the USSR, and now it's its own country.
Okay, but it's a buffer state, meaning it's a state between USSR and
The
non-
West.
And the West.
So in the 20th century, yeah, that's what the Iron Curtain, that's what the Warsaw Pact countries are. They're their
Right.
own independent countries, but Russia's kind of in charge. But
Yeah.
sometimes not really. Sometimes they do stuff to be like, fuck you, Russia, and Russia's like, damn, why are you doing that? We gave you grain. Shut up.
all
Your
they
grain
want.
production's kicking up. That's what matters in that side of the world. I know over
Yeah.
here we care about sports scores and gambling and
But
stuff.
they care about grain.
They're like, I don't know, fucking 4% up. Are you kidding me, bro? I gamble on this shit. Oh,
Is that? I feel like that accent is it's like 40 countries.
it's a lot of
What are you
places.
doing? This is crazy. Don't you know? I'm
It's
Romania,
deadpan.
Moldova. I'm from Hungary. Don't you know? It's crazy to you.
All of your family, I have sex with, I kill them,
Sex.
whatever you need.
Smoking.
Smoking, sex,
Being
killing,
idle.
sex.
Like being idle, smoking, and viewing and not smiling.
Absolutely.
Could be almost any country.
Can you squat? Because you could be.
Yeah.
We could both be Slavic. That's the funniest thing.
But Slavs are not gopniks, right? That's a different thing.
Gopnik is a word that means hooligan.
Right. So the
in-
guys who
in-
squat and drink 40s and smoke
Yeah, yeah.
cigs.
No. Yeah, that would be. Yeah, no. Not all Slavs are hooligans. That's,
Right. But you know what I mean? Like that sort of thing
But
is
it's-
not. That sort of squatting and smoking and being idle.
that's the culture.
Isn't that? But didn't that come out of you getting just enough money from welfare? You don't have to do anything. So a lot of those guys are sort of just idle because
There's certainly a lot of that associated with it because you're just like hanging out on the estate or the
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 public
apartments
housing.
or exactly yeah. But a lot of those sometimes that's just like how like kids in high school dress.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people. Did you never go through a hooligan phase? A phase where you're just like any rule, time to break it.
no,
No.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. I think I did a lot of bad stuff, but it wasn't. 'cause
Seems like a landowner, huh?
I guess so. I didn't own any land.
No, but your family. I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess they were landowners. Technically, they were landowners.
That's the
yeah.
only. There's two. Everyone's like, there's all these different types of groups of people. There's just landowners and non-landowners. That's it.
Yeah, but who really owns land? You know what I mean?
The people making money off of it.
Yes, but that's not a person who. If you buy a house and you're paying a mortgage, you don't really own the land.
There's that whole the government
But
and the
it's
whatever.
It's true though.
But it is
you
true.
know? If you own a small parcel of land and you're paying a mortgage on it, you don't own what's underneath it, and you don't own it outright because you're still paying property
I don't
taxes, all this stuff. You're not making a profit off the land.
Exactly. I don't
You're
consider
not.
homeowners and landowners
That's
the
what
same
I'm
thing.
saying. Well, if you have
A
home,
homeowner is a guy in this type of pyramid scheme.
so then
Sorry.
my parents were not landowners then, they were homeowners.
Okay. Yeah.
But
That's
on
probably
land. You
Not
could-
boat.
No boat. It's funny how boats have become. It's like the most Trumpy thing that exists is a boat.
Sir, this is a house. It's got an address. The lake dried up. It's a houseboat.
That'd be a good way to dry the lake up.
I've always wanted to live in a house that's not really a house, a getaway house, if you will.
You mean like a second home?
No, like a RV or a houseboat or
Yeah, houseboat.
jail.
Some houseboats are, I don't know.
It's an extra kind of trashy. You're like, I'm never gonna find that level of fucked up.
It's reserved for people who are alcoholics on their way out.
Like they don't just sell drugs; they trade drugs for guns, and so they have to be on water at all
or
times.
used to be in crime, and now they're sort of like they've been relegated to just being on the houseboat.
Exact. Yeah, they're like, well, the mafia hates me and the feds.
Yeah, it's always the guy in the movie they go to see some guy like he used to know something.
Yeah.
And they go on the houseboat and he's like, bring a handle of gin. And I'll tell you stuff.
Yeah.
And they go on there and it's super messy and it smells bad.
That's his tax for doing a deadly.
But he knows one thing. He knows one thing about some guy. It's like, well, I'll tell you what, he didn't have a third finger. Now get the fuck out of here. Get out of here.
My grandma has this problem in Romania right now. She can't find people to pay them minimum wage to do like the shitty little errands.
She can't find someone to pay.
There's whatever minimum wage pays, people are not willing to do the labor for her for that shit.
Why?
Because it's not enough money and it's too much work. And she wants like stuff done around the house and like sometimes dangerous stuff
On
and
her
fruit
land.
collected. Yeah, she does have land. So what she can find is drunkards and pays them in direct alcohol that she made.
What?
She got into distilling at like
Shut
78, 79 years old.
What kind of hooch is she making?
She's making a lot of prune liquor, which is
Oh
like
my gosh.
tuika. And
Tweeka?
Yeah, this is like a popular Eastern European. I
Oh
don't know if
my
it's Romanian,
God.
but it's like Polish, Romanian, Hungarian. Like, it's just a spirit made out of fucking prunes.
So she ferments the prunes, and then after she ferments them, she distills
She's
them.
told me the whole process. I've seen it. She's got this thing called a kazan, which is like a big
kazan.
still, like a big still.
Yeah.
You know, you light it on fire, you dance around it. It's a whole
Dance.
yeah. It
Is
takes,
this where the folk religion kicks in?
if you don't do that shit, her first batch of liquor was like undrinkable. It was like boat cleaner.
So strong.
No, it was disgusting.
You say boat cleaner?
Yeah, it was like you
Yeah.
throw it on the outside of stuff to like as like a
As
know
a solvent.
exactly. yeah, you're like you gotta mix some paint.
Well, how strong is the liquor she makes?
It's 40% ABV or something, but like it
Really?
was it was just so poorly done. She didn't know
Yeah.
the art yet. And then the second and third batches was like getting back. You know, we drink it in front of her because we're like, come on, you gotta do this. But
What's it taste like?
fucked up. I've given it to other like career alcoholics, like
Yeah.
comedians, like open micers, you know, and they're just like, no, like I'm
You
not.
brought it back from Romania?
Every time I go to Romania, she gives me a liter
A liter? So you're putting a liter, checking a liter of
in
booze.
like a plastic bottle like this, and she
God.
like wraps it up with that like brown Scotch tape that only cocaine traffickers and my grandma have.
Like the most suspicious looking thing
Yeah.
that possibly exists.
Yeah, she's like, can you also take this 1 kilogram of powdered white cheese? Here's a knife to
Yeah.
cut it open, and
And tested.
yeah.
Oh God.
But they used to send so I was born in Romania, 94, and then starting in we came here in 97, starting in 99, they would send me over every summer for 3 months. So I would come back with goods.
How long?
3 months.
3 months.
Two
wow.
at least 2 months. Sometimes I missed some school
Yeah.
because I had all my family and grandparents and whatever there. So they were like, we got to raise the kid. We want to see the boy. I don't have any
Yeah.
siblings.
And you have to go over there to learn the traditional folk religion.
The religion didn't matter that much because
Yeah.
they were all communists. They
Oh
were
right.
all
They don't,
party
they don't
members.
do religious.
They
don't-
did, but secretly, very
Are you
privately.
serious?
Yeah,
What religion?
Christian Orthodox.
Mm.
So
That's the cool one. That's the incense one, right?
it's one they claim. That's like the old church.
Yeah.
Before the Catholics.
Yeah.
Lots of incense. And the icons, the scary
And
fucking
the beards.
Yeah, I think that's what they claimed the schism was over. They were like, the Catholics didn't want the golden calf situation where you're
Really?
worshiping so many local saints and all these they're like, just look at the Pope and then he'll tell you what God's about.
Yeah.
And then our guys were like, no, we have like this fucking saint that was killed on a boat. You got to put him up on the church. You got to do this. And you're
Oh.
like, ugh, it's too much. You're making
Let's
it too
keep it
long.
simple.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just
that's-
one guy who gets all the money. And
I'm
he-
sure it was actually over money
Mhm.
and land that they were fighting over, but
Yeah.
that's what they claimed the schism was about.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that. Yeah, because they're definitely very similar.
So my great grandfather on my mom's side was a priest, and he was
in the Eastern Orthodox Church.
yes, a theologian.
Wow.
So most priests just do seminary. That's like
Mhm.
finishing high school, you go become a rural priest. He did theology school or whatever. Still just ended up a rural priest. So he was overqualified, and he kind of was like a local psychologist in some
yeah.
respects, where people would come to just
Yeah.
waste his fucking time and be like, my wife cheats on me every day, and he's like,
Explain to me why apple and orange is different.
yeah. And he's
Just
like,
anything.
okay, I only have 3 hours.
Yeah.
And obviously they had like no money, so they like pay him in like chickens and like
Oh, that's great. That's
bricks.
the dream. And bricks. Gotta get paid in bricks. They're heavy, but they're good.
Yeah.
Paid in bricks.
Absolutely, yeah. And even if you did get paid in money, you're like the inflationary situation before communism and right at the end of communism. My dad talks about how like communism was scary, but then the communism ended and the free fall
Oh, right.
was so crazy where sometimes a loaf of bread would change prices from morning to night.
Oh, my God.
You got to go fucking shop in the morning.
That's why fucking Bank of America won't change money when the market's closed. I tried to change some Canadian dollars because I got when I was in Canada.
Yeah.
And I went there on a Saturday. They're open. They're like, we can't do that today. I'm like, why not? They're like, oh, because the market's closed. I'm like, well, so the fuck what?
So what?
Just give me the price. Give me the price at closing.
Are you going to lose that much money on this?
Well,
Bank of America?
That's the thing. They're so fucking goddamn. They're so miserly that they are like, what if?
He said
what
it,
if
not
on
me.
Monday? You can't say miserly anymore.
No, it's just a funny to always a guy who's so afraid of being anti-Semitic. I'm like, whoa, I don't know about.
They're so fucking cheap.
I'm working on a character. He's a reformed anti-Semite.
Reformed.
So he's taking all his anti-Semitic behavior and he applies it to Irish people now.
That's kind of.
He's like, think about it, brother. Mickey Mouse. It's
Oh,
in the
yeah.
name.
That makes sense.
No Irish people died on 9/11. What's up with that?
Yeah, it's because you can't kill the Irish. Because you can't tell the difference.
What
between
is
them.
dead may never die.
It's like, is this? Oh, you guys are all look the same to me.
Yes.
But that is true about
I love them.
Irishmen.
I don't know enough about them, but I love immediately when I
Yeah.
hear a cause where they're like, we were terrorists against the British. I'm like, down. Sign me
Yeah.
up. That's the kind of Republican I want to be.
I was all about Bobby Sands when I was like in 11th grade.
Is that the
10th.
Liam Neeson movie?
Bobby Sands is the leader of the IRA who got put in prison
Oh, yes.
on the H
Okay.
block, and he
Yes,
smeared his
yes.
shit all over the fucking
Yes,
walls and went on a
yes.
hunger strike. I was so obsessed with him, like when I was like in 10th sophomore in high school.
Being that age and being anti-authoritarian is the only natural conclusion.
Yeah, but I called our bunk in summer camp the H block.
That's crazy. That's like
'Cause-
naming it Mandela's prison.
Basically, I mean, but Mandela is so much more peaceful and high-minded.
Was
compared
he?
To,
Let me ask you this. Was he?
well, in my memory, yes.
He was a terrorist. He blew up power lines and like and in a good way. I mean, freedom fighter style, but not peaceful.
You're sounding now like the guy I met in South Africa when we went on a safari.
I'm pro Mandela,
The
by the
guy
way.
who was like, do you know that Mandela was a terrorist? He was.
By his own admission,
This guy is from from Zimbabwe.
by his own
formerly
admission, he's like,
Rhodesia.
we got to get shit done. There are ways to, and I'm not saying that he was
You
wrong.
know what I mean? Mandela's persona is one of a genteel, intellectual.
Because he just submits and takes that whole shit in jail. But why is he in jail? Because of bombs. Because he makes bombs.
I guess, and I just don't know enough about him.
And most of it, I love
Yeah.
cultural blind spots. That's my favorite. When we have like a thing, I'm like we all know about Idi Amin. We all have heard that
Do
name.
you know what I know about him? Is his name.
That's it.
Because it's such a great name. It's like
such a great
it's like
name.
Boko Haram, like the ultimate. Boko Haram is the greatest name of
It's
all
like
time.
supreme.
Yeah.
It's just so good
Boko
for branding.
Haram. Like Boko Haram is bad. Oh, they
Bad.
are.
Oh,
but they
fuck.
sound so cool.
Why can't we reappropriate
It's like
bad?
Adidas.
Yeah.
It's like a terrorist. Like, yeah, we're Adidas. Oh, they're bad. Yeah, they're really bad.
Yeah. All day I dream about something fucked up.
All day I dream about anal sex with my
Idi
captors.
Idi Amin, I think 8 people. I think that was one of.
But he's an African warlord.
No. He was just
Who
a
was he?
leader.
Of
He was
where?
a leader. See, again, I don't know.
How do you not know that?
I should. I want at some point. I did. I'm
Idi
on.
Amin.
I'm on medicines.
Okay.
But
We all are now.
We're all on something.
They're spraying.
Brought to you by no.
Brought to you by Booze Allen Hamilton.
That would be so cool if we could get just alprazolam, not the generic, just the
What is
whole
alprazolam?
the name for Xanax.
Oh, the actual
If we could
generic
get
name. The copyright
that as a sponsor.
sponsored by alprazolam. Yeah.
Just for 2 milligrams of Xanax. Anyway.
That's a lot. But Idi Amin is from what? He's got to be Uganda.
You got to be kidding
When
me.
I was in Toronto, I had a driver who was listening to some cool reggae and asking where this is from. ask him what this is, and he's like, it's this guy from Uganda. I was like, oh, really? This sounds. He's like, yes, this is really. It's He's the driver from Uganda, and he spent the whole 15-minute drive telling me how you must visit Uganda.
You must.
And I'm thinking like, isn't that place like dangerous as fuck and had like terrible civil war and stuff?
But he's like, for you, brother, it is amazing.
He's saying this, he was saying how yes, Uganda is like the not the Paris of Africa, but some comparison where they say of, and how it's super clean and very safe. I'm thinking, man, that's interesting. I would love to go to. It would be cool to go to Uganda, right? Because no one goes to Uganda, and you look up on the State Department website, and it says like, do not
visit.
go.
Yeah. It's like, will not resuscitate.
and who's right?
Well, you know who
what I
the
mean?
current leader of Uganda is?
No.
Channing Apodaca. No,
Channing.
that's the producer today.
Your last name is what's your last name?
Yeah.
Man.
I know, right?
That's good.
Yeah.
That's you can commit war crimes.
You
get
could
away
be a
with
child.
it.
You could be a child soldier recruiter.
I'm trying to get put on to war crimes.
It's such a hard thing to do.
That's like one of the last like true American ways to make money.
It's a hard industry to break into.
This war crimes.
Yeah, you got to move to like Colorado Springs. You got to work for
Colorado
Lockheed Martin.
Springs, yeah. Those aren't war crimes. Those are just.
A lot of the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Those guys are just helping.
They're help.
They're not actually doing anything. They're just sort of the assistants.
Well, someone watched a lot of Nuremberg and got their fucking defense ready, huh?
The first paper I ever wrote was about the Nuremberg trials, I think.
Military tribunal.
Hand wrote it.
Really?
Yeah, hand wrote it
Wow.
on loose leaf paper, and I got in trouble because I didn't trim off the edges because it was a spiral bound.
Wow, they were like real Nazis about it.
Yeah.
They're just like
Ding 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 ding. Joke.
That's one of the few things my wife hates about me. She likes comedy, but she really doesn't enjoy setup punch,
Really?
and that's how my mind thinks. And so,
man, I can't.
70% of our dialogue is just her going like, "Are you lying to me right now?"
because it was a setup punch.
It's a bit, yeah. I'm like, "No, I'm gay." Over and
gay
over.
for communism.
Yeah, but her not learning because she just has a blind spot for that, and
She
me.
does?
She's every time she's like, "Are you
Because she
are
doesn't
you
see the joke
shitting me
coming.
right now?" Yeah. It's maybe the thing I love most about her that she will never see the joke coming.
But
It's
she's
like
an
always-
American,
Absolutely.
like a through and through hardcore American.
Yes.
She Christian, or comes from a Christian home.
Oh, that's interesting. No, she's a love child.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's technically not a Christian home, but Christian lifestyle.
She doesn't like me telling too much of her backstory, but get this. Her dad that she grew up with, he immigrated here in 1953 from Germany.
Okay.
He was like 12 years old or something. His dad was a veteran.
Right. Veteran of.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Because I called her sister. I was like, was your grandfather
A helper.
veteran? And she's like, I have some medals that I've been thinking about giving to museums because they're just so dark and
The
scary.
museum of a crucible.
But he was a chef. Let's just get one thing straight, right?
Even worse.
He truly was a
So
helper.
many opportunities to poison. But instead,
We
just
don't
like,
know that he didn't. We don't
Yeah,
know
we
why
don't know.
he,
We don't know shit.
we don't know why he didn't
Yeah.
leave to Texas eventually. But he'd stayed in a small town.
Yeah.
As a lot of former guys like that
Yeah,
do.
because Texas is very German, right?
So my wife grew up with the impression that her dad was this German guy, son of a veteran chef.
Mm-hmm.
And then like right before he dies, when she was like 18, he was like, I'm not your biological father. Actually, your mother had an affair with the Native American shaman while she was on some sort of retreat.
In United States.
Here, yes. Yeah.
That's cool.
So you're not a Nazi, actually, you're Native American. I was like, show business.
Talk
We're
about like a 180.
come up.
Damn.
Yeah, she doesn't see it that way. She's like, no, it's this whole tragedy. I'm like, yeah, we'll get past that. But come on, look at the.
Wow.
Anyway, so
Does that mean she's half?
Native American.
Yeah.
Yes, or I guess whatever percentage, because he's probably not fully. No one's really fully Native American anymore. Sorry,
I mean, that's not true, but
it's almost really true.
well, you say that.
From what I've, I could be completely
Yeah.
wrong. From what I know. Even people on reservations, when they do like the genetic testing or whatever, they're like, it's still
Yeah, it's highly,
percentages and
polluted.
yes, and that's that was the policy. Unfortunately, that was
Right.
the colonizing situation.
Yeah, what did they say in Braveheart?
Get her done.
That's my favorite line from Braveheart. It's "Get her done." Oh my god, that would be so fucking great. To like read.
He's like, ye men, must listen to your Lord.
Do you understand? If you create from any day, from this day to that, if you can do one thing, it is get her done.
Here's your sign.
God, here's your sign. It's Jeff Foxworthy out there.
Yes.
You might be Scottish if. Have you ever worn a dress and considered it pants? You might be a Scotsman.
If you've ever said the phrase "old soul," he might be a pedophile.
Have you ever tried to save money by not eating? You might be a Scotsman. You know that saying, right, about Scotch tape? This is every time I tell someone this, they do not believe me. I learned it before it was a thing. Before when you could say stuff like this publicly, like on a radio program, like on NPR.
Whoa.
The reason it's called Scotch tape is because it is able to be reused, evidently, and Scottish people historically are so cheap,
So disposable.
so incredibly cheap. Like Scottish people are known to be the most frugal, penny-pinching bastards ever. Like it was like a known thing in the 40s and 50s.
I think because they had to be, though. you
Right.
know?
Well, but either way, Scottish people, cheap people, so they call it Scotch tape.
Whoa.
Like and we still call it Scotch tape.
Well, it's like how we say "jip," or you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
For and then you ask Romani people, you're like, "Should we stop that?" And you're like, "They're like, I don't give a fuck. I'm stealing from you, brother."
That's
Like,
the one thing I can't stand is the whole like you can't say gypsy. You know?
they do. You gonna tell me?
but
So what are the Gypsy Kings got to
There's
call
people
themselves now?
who are like that you're being racist if you say gypsy, which it's like you're making fun of the Amish. Like they don't know.
Well,
know
they
what I
do.
mean?
I think
The Amish or the
No,
Gypsies?
not the Gypsies.
Yeah.
Because here's my stance. I'm like one of the few Romanians that's like, I love them. They're great.
But you're not a gypsy.
I'm not at all. Gypsy people are.
You kind of seem like a gypsy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
They're Indian. They're
Right. I know this.
They're
Yep.
Romani.
Yep.
They show up in
You know
Europe.
what? Wait. Say it again.
They're Indian.
I know this. I do. Esmeralda.
There you go.
They're Indian,
Cut
right?
to,
So isn't the
picture.
whole like gypsy thing? It's like an opposite thing.
It's the Louis bit. They show up and they're like, the Europeans are like, "You're from Egypt?" And they're like, "No." And they're like, "Yeah, you're from Egypt." So gypsy. That's
Right. Yeah. So they claim to be
That's where the slur / patois, whatever you want
when
to
they're
call it.
actually from India, not
Yes.
from Egypt. Yeah.
They're not from Egypt at all, but they're
So-
nomadic. So India is not. There's no like Indian people. There's a bunch of different types of people there.
Yeah.
And one of these people was several nomadic groups ended up in Europe,
And fell in love with the Quasimodo.
and now they're very much Romanianized. That's a hilarious bit. The idea of everybody falling in love with Quasimodo.
Like he's so ugly, but he works so
He's
hard.
got his own reality show.
He's got his own church.
Yeah. Just knee deep in pussy, and his knees like up to his forehead because he's disfigured.
But what about the gypsies? You're not one.
Most Romanians, even like the really progressive liberal ones, are like,
Yeah.
the one thing Hitler did okay was put them in the ovens too.
Oh my God, that's right. He did kill
yeah.
a lot of gypsies, didn't he?
Yeah. The Holocaust is very diverse.
Yeah, but I fast forward to 10 years from now, there's like a gypsy count. How many times Johnny Pemberton said gypsy on a podcast?
Oh my God!
you imagine that?
I would love to be just
Oh
next
my
to you.
God.
A little bit of my cheek structure is clipped,
Yeah.
like Frasier in the Kramer video.
Romani.
You ever,
Whoops.
you ever seen the Kramer? Of course you have. The most watched crowd work clip of all time.
Yeah.
Do you ever see the end of it where the host comes back on? It's Frasier
No,
Smith.
I
And
don't
he's
remember that.
like
honestly.
snap. He's like, "All right, folks, ready to keep the show?"
Wow. Damn, I did not. They cut that out for most part.
Yeah, TMZ didn't show that part, but
So you tell me that the mainstream Romanians are like, oh, that was good that he.
mainstream Romanians are
Hate
so
the-
upset
hate the
at
Romanis.
Romani people. They are launching a bill. They have launched like legislation in the parliament to
Right.
try to get Romani to not be the official name for them. They want to get the slur to be the official name.
Gypsy?
Yeah, because they're like, when people read about Romani, they think we're Romanians. They think we are the thieves. We're fucking horses and doing whatever. You're
Yeah.
like, guys, we have our own shit ass reputation. Like they're not making it that much worse.
Why do they not like them?
The idea that they steal, they don't participate in civil society the same way. A lot of stuff that you make up about people that you're othering.
What about the ones in England? You know those weird ones like the
Probably a little bit of genetic similarity, but at this point they're like 16th generation down.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
they
Like,
just those people are fucking crazy. They're like all illiterate.
you see how they just start talking about no.
But they're like all these like all the women do this tanner thing when they look like they've been electrocuted and shit.
Is that not just all bitches these days? They all looking Kardashian
This is because they also have those super thick accents where they just sound like they don't know how to read.
But here's what it is: every culture has colorism, right? Almost every within because there's no culture that if you got more than 6 million of a people or 10 million or whatever, you're gonna have some genetic variation in the
Right.
skin tones and whatever. And so,
But they are doing this to themselves. This is
they're
like
dark.
It's a
though.
style.
They're even. I'm not talking about the British ones. I'm talking about the ones in Eastern Europe.
I'm talking
They
about
are
the- I'm talking about the
visibly
British ones.
They're visibly Indian looking.
Yeah.
So it's funny that at some point like they've like kind of bred to looking whiter.
Yeah.
And then at some point they're like, we got to tan. We got to get back to our roots, which everybody's doing now. Everybody wants to be both white and like distanced from whiteness visibly. They want the spoils of whiteness, and they're like, I'm Armenian looking.
Oh yeah, it's true.
That's what everyone's doing now.
But they hate them just because it's because they don't pay taxes or some shit.
Look, I think
Caravans? Is
I
it
don't know where
caravans?
exactly where. I think that caravans is a part of it.
Much of it,
They prefer to live outside of cities in caravan situations in their own lives, whatever.
Right.
And some people will say, "Oh, it's because that's what they do. They steal. That's what
Yeah.
their lifestyle is. It's like exploitive." Maybe that's true. I think if that's true, it's basically because they weren't allowed to have even the shittiest of jobs for the longest periods
yeah,
of time.
so you had to just get by.
If you know anything about stealing, it's so much more work than regular work.
I don't know anything about stealing.
First, you got to case the joint. Then you
Yeah.
got to figure out where your exits are. Then you got.
Here.
It's a bunch of. It's not like, oh, I'm just going around stealing willy nilly. You couldn't do it.
well, you could, but you get caught.
There's a
It's
reason.
not sustainable.
There's a
if it-
reason they give you an award in basketball for most steals because it's hard.
They do?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Thief of the year. No, I don't.
Thief of the year. What do they call
It's
it?
hard to steal. It's labor.
Yeah.
It's labor intensive. So they're basically looking at it like, fine, if you won't let me sell my labor for $8 an hour, I'll risk
I'm
it
gonna
for
have to-
$100.
Yeah.
And sure, maybe I go to jail, but whatever. They give me 3 meals and a bed. That's what I'm looking for in the first place. So like, that's not even unique to them. That's a lot of people's situation
Yeah,
that
it's
like
a-
predisposes them for crime.
Mm-hmm. But that's true. It's true everywhere.
Airwear.
But they do it with style because they have their whole like
pizzazz and style and folkloric magic and all this stuff.
Yeah. So they have a religion?
I'm sure they have their own language, which is like at this point a little bit intermingled with Romanian. It's got like pidgin Romanian in
Ooh.
it.
You know it at all?
No, I know Romanian.
No. What's Romanian sound like?
Romanian sounds like the dirtiest Latin language.
What if you were to say like, excuse me, sir, I would like to buy a coffee and 3 loaves of bread, please.
Pardon, șeful, domnule, vreau să cumpăr o cafea și câteva felii de pâine.
Wait, I heard a little bit of Borat in there.
Just
a
a
little bit
touch
of point.
just a touch. Because what it is, it's like 60% Latin. All the conjugations are Latin or whatever.
Really?
And then we do Slavic. We got 40% like
Oh.
Russian or whatever. We don't say si or we or whatever like for yes.
Right?
We say da.
Da.
Like that.
That's Russian?
That's Slavic.
Interesting. Slavic.
Da.
Okay.
So
Da.
we forgot like God bless us or may the Lord bless us, whatever. We say Slava Domnule. The way that like people say
Slava.
Slava Ukraini for like
I don't-
God bless Ukraine,
know. I
long
don't
live
know shit.
Ukraine. We have all these like Slavic traditions, words, borrowing things, but we call ourselves Latin. We're like, no, we're just Balkanic Latin people.
Volcanic or
Balkanic.
Volcanic.
Yeah, we live in the Balkans and we're Latin. We were a Roman colony. That's where the name comes from, Romania.
Romania. Oh, makes sense.
We were a
yeah.
trophy.
Really?
Yeah, for Emperor Tryon or something.
What
whatever.
was why was it a trophy?
Well, because we kept fucking with these goat herds. We kept like stealing. They had their own buffer
This
state.
is like 1,000 years ago?
So Romania was the Dutch people. We were Dacia.
Dacia.
We were known for raping and pillaging and fighting, as most people were back then.
Right.
And these goat herds that were technically in like kind of neutral territory or whatever, we just kept attacking them. And the Roman Empire was like, "You fuck with that one more time, we're gonna send the Romans on your ass."
And what
And then
did they fuck with it one more time?
The Dacians were like, "No, they won't." And then the Romans were like, "Now we got on principle. I got to kill you."
That's what
and,
they do.
Yeah, they didn't end up killing the emperor. The emperor did that classic move where he like saw that they were gonna come over the hills, so he took his own life in the castle or whatever.
Wait, this is
Bitch
the
move, I
Romanian
think.
guy.
Yeah, Emperor. I don't remember his name. Maybe he was Traian, but he was the last Dacian emperor.
Wow. How old is this?
I should know the times. My dad's
Right.
my dad's watching this video right now and cursing at me for not knowing them.
Really?
But
why? Because you don't know about.
he's like a full autism. He knows every encyclopedia like back to back.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool that he is watching.
He might be drunkenly swearing,
Really? Drinking
missing all these facts,
the
bringing
burn.
dishonor to my family.
Why do we send you for 3 months every summer not
Exact-
to learn
yeah,
not to
yeah.
know the
But it was BC time. I know it was at some point
BC? So it's more than 1,000 years
more
ago.
than that. Yeah.
Well, it's what? How old is that? Over 2,000 years ago.
If I
Man.
had to guess. But so the name of you know, how every country has a car.
Every what?
You know, every country produces a car.
Every what? Huh?
Every little state, every nation makes its own car. Some have multiple, like
They
America.
do?
Yeah,
I don't think everyone.
almost all of them. Not all. You're
Does
correct.
Iceland have a car? I bet they don't.
I don't know, but I'm gambling and saying I bet they do. I don't know if Channing will look it up
What
for
about
us.
San Marino? Now,
I bet they
Liechtenstein?
don't. I bet they
Liechtenstein have
don't.
got a car?
I bet they do. Okay, fine. I
It's
bet
just a,
city-states might be the one exception. But anyway, Romania produces a national car. It's just a Renault. You know what a Renault is? The French
A
car?
Renault?
Yeah.
That's a fucking Romanian car?
No. We in the
Oh, you s-
60s we did a deal and made them off license. So it's the same engine, same specs,
Yeah.
whatever, but we put our name on it, and the name is Dacia, like the former country. used to be.
Okay. That's like that old SNL sketch where Tom Hanks is playing like a Sabra. You've seen Sabra Price is Right? It's the best sketch. Oh my god, it's so funny. It's a classic one. Like you probably couldn't do that today.
No.
But he keeps saying, Sonny Guts, Sonny
Sonny
Guts,
Guts, yeah.
Renault Guts, Renault Guts. Hey, it's basically Renault.
It's basically
it's
yeah.
Renault. Renault is good.
There
It's-
was a time where consumers
which is
had to
terrible because Renaults are fucking shit. It's
be. Are
like
they? I thought
I
Renault's
mean,
it's
it's a French car, right?
the French invented the car. Number one.
The French invented the car.
Number one.
So what? It's like
That's
saying
what
like,
they're good at.
The French invented the car.
They
What do
did.
you mean? No one like 2,000 years ago. Someone was like, "What if we put some
Like
wheels on a box?"
110 years ago, not that long ago. Like
What do you mean
very.
they invented the car?
The French invented the automobile.
Okay, but what?
I will not
what
expand
is
any
it?
further on that.
This is like
But number two,
that's such a bunch of
the
bullshit.
biggest
though.
car manufacturer in the world, I
Yeah.
think, is either Volkswagen or Renault Nissan. Renault and Nissan
Okay.
they're like a partnership company.
Oh,
So like that's most of the cars in the world are
sure, but doesn't mean
French.
they're. I mean, I don't know.
or in some French accountants.
I'll take your word for it, but I'm still thinking like I would
That's
rather.
the thing, baby boy. You don't gotta believe me. The Google will tell you.
Yeah, I don't want to Google anymore. I want to Google. I don't want to do Zooms ever again.
I think that's gonna be part of the next big thing to fix is like glasses that just have fact checking.
Fuck, I don't want it. Don't you want to fuck
I
a
miss.
fact?
I do miss not knowing.
But also, facts are so fungible.
Yes,
because there's
yes.
so many things that have become true.
Most
by
of the time,
virtue
what
of
I'm repeating,
repetition.
what I think is a fact, is just misinformation. Like most of the
Yeah,
time.
or there's like a kernel of truth, but you just don't know because there's too many layers around it. So the
Yes.
truth has become the story about the thing.
Yes.
And someone told me this years ago. Maybe I read it something. I think I read in this book called Zealot. That guy Reza Aslan wrote a book about Jesus, saying that
Oh, cool.
the writers of the gospel, the idea that the gospels are historical account of Jesus is untrue because the writers of the gospel did not even consider the idea of factual writing as to be a thing. Because when they were writing stuff,
I can see that.
they weren't writing to document something. They're writing to be like
Interpret it, tell a
can't even
story. And
describe it.
like,
He describes it so well, but essentially how these things that we have decided now that are true were written by people who didn't even have that as a thought. Like the idea of something being true is
I think that was that makes sense that
like,
wasn't
why
what
would
they
you
were
write
going
s-
for
like, you
because
don't want to write something true. You want to write something
you
interesting.
want to write something good.
Yeah.
And the Bible, Jesus is my only gripe with it is that Jesus does come off like a first pass character, like where he's got like
Yeah.
nearly no flaws.
Well, there's so many writers. How can you say, he's an amalgamation of.
He is.
of
He there.
who knows
If
how
you read the
much.
Bible, he does show off some character defects, basically.
Yeah.
But like the stereotype on him is that he's nearly perfect. Like you should live like Jesus.
Yeah, but there's so many people who say the opposite about him. They say he was, a warrior and all these things. The historical Jesus is different than the idea
In
of Jesus.
the Bible, or who's the so
People
many
who are like Bible scholars talk about how there's all these other
Well, that's
writings.
just a guy jerking off on History Channel. But like the Dead Sea Scrolls, like that's something
Okay.
that's like a contrasting account.
Right.
They still kind of present him as like stoic and like people
like-
try to rattle him and exactly they try to get him with shit like that.
Yeah.
He's like, I will not, my brother. I will, and that's not believable.
Yeah.
I think the idea that he's more that he would be like, I'm the fucking son of God. I will, bro. I could make you a rat. I think
he's a warlock.
that would be a little bit more. We could see ourselves in him. Instead, the Jesus character is just like, I get it. You're better than all of us. Like, fine. But also, it's funny that they might have had to just invent Jesus because people behaved so poorly that you're like, you needed
Yeah.
this story. And it's been 2,000 years, and we haven't behaved well at all.
There's so many people who are like hardcore biblical scholars who say that most of the information about Jesus is, it's nice and all, but it's just really all signs point to not real.
A lot of it is like
Just-
co-opted from like Egyptian stuff.
We're covered from everything. Like
From
everything's
everything,
the same.
grab a little bit of, but
Yeah.
that is
A
beautiful.
potpourri, if you will.
If you look at the Abrahamic religions, right, as version 1, 2,
What?
3. Start
what?
with
April, what?
that's what they're called, right? Maybe I'm
I don't know that, honestly.
so Judaism,
like-
Christianity, and Islam, they're all kind of linked
Really?
philosophically. Absolutely.
Abrahamic?
Yeah, that's what they're. That's
How is Islam linked?
I'll get to that in a second.
There was a meeting.
No.
The Buddha.
It's genius.
The
Well,
Muhammad.
you know how
and,
Christianity and Judaism are linked, obviously, right?
Right.
The New Testament claims the Old Testament.
Right. The Old Testament is the Jews, and the New Testament is the Christians.
But so the Jews don't claim the New Testament. The Jews are like, you guys are just doing your own thing.
Yeah, I know that much.
But it became much more popular. So the Christians found
more fun.
That's a
It's more scary.
It's
It's
a
like horror
philosoph-
movies. Like they don't win Oscars, but more people watch them.
absolutely. But it's a good philosophical tool to be like, oh, those Jews they didn't realize they were Christians yet. They were just waiting for the next. You know what I mean?
That's such a great tool.
And then Islam did the same thing in the year 600.
They did?
Yeah, Islam said actually everyone that's came before us, they were Muslims. They just didn't realize it.
Oh.
So they're all linked, and they're all like, they all learned from that. Islam and Christianity had the benefit of being next, so they could see the mistakes of the first one.
Yeah, that's
Judaism doesn't recruit, so the Christians were like, "Oh, wait, that's a flaw in the software. Change that. We got to be able to."
They kind of do recruit because they're like, hey, man, we're fucking cool as hell. We've been around for a long time. We're doing something right. If you want to join us, you can. It's going to be hard.
It's hard as shit.
It's going to be hard.
and
But that's that's attractive to a lot of people.
all it costs is a little bit of your dick. Can you give
Yeah.
us?
You know what? We all have our dicks, the tip snip. So it's a fucking cool club, baby.
I that's the one part I can't get down with. I'm like, I'm sorry, you gotta.
Well, as an adult.
It just still. I'm like, people are like, nah, circumcision. I'm like, we gotta stop using that word. It's a dick cutting.
Yeah, it is pretty. It
We
is pretty
shouldn't
amazing that
sanitize
we do
it.
that. God,
Yes.
what a crazy thing, huh?
They're like, well, it's cleaner. I'm like, if you say so, buddy. I want my whole dick, and I'm gonna clean it myself.
So they came later, and they didn't. They decided we were going to recruit.
Christians, they had their own patch stuff. Now, what
Yeah.
they fucked up is they made Jews both necessary to their story and the enemy. they really didn't think that
Did
one
they really
through.
make them the enemy though, or is that like a later thing?
I think they left so much interpretation.
Yeah.
Right, they allowed Christians to be like, oh, clearly these, because they make it out that like Jews killed Jesus, right? But that's
Yeah.
not true. They were just the lawyers of the trial. All Jews are lawyers.
But also Jesus
No,
was
I'm kidding.
Jewish, and
Yes,
Jesus was
he
Jewish.
was Jewish.
All those people were Jewish.
But when you tell that to certain hardcore Christians, they go, yes, but he was baptized, and you go, so what? It's the same.
But baptized by his friend.
Exactly.
It's like, hey man,
By his homie.
let's do Blood Brothers. That's basically what they did. By the dirtiest guy ever, John the Baptist, like a filthy, filthy man,
He was
like who sleeps with goats.
he was like a Judean Gigi Allen, if you will.
Yeah, for real. I love the idea of John the Baptist being like nasty, being just like sleeping in a barnyard.
And then
It's like
somewhere
John Goodman on a bender.
the Catholics have the funniest story where they claim somehow St. Peter walked from that part of the world
Yeah.
to Italy in his 90s.
Yeah, the
Before-
Catholics are the original Mormons, where it's just We're
They're
gonna
like-
invent a bunch of cool stuff that, if you don't look into it, it seems like a thing.
It seems awesome.
Yeah.
But also, you've been to the Vatican, right?
Yeah,
What-
I'm Catholic.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I mean, technically Catholic.
You're a Catholic mass
I
shooter.
like Catholics. I like the idea of it.
I do too. I don't like the Catholic Church. I love
Well,
Catholics.
nobody does.
I love Catholics. I love the people.
I mean, yeah,
Nobody likes religion, but people like religious people.
yeah. Or they like the community. They like the culture. They like the ceremony. They like all
This
the
part's
stuff.
going to get me in trouble, but the main thing that I only have a qualm with is the priests can't marry, and that's what
Yeah,
causes
but
them
they
to
have
be
a
pa-
problem with it too.
Well, no, they don't, because
They do have a problem.
They could
have
just
a,
they could
have
just
an issue with
They
it.
could just do this and
They
be like,
could.
you guys can have pussy, and it's fine.
It's gonna happen soon.
The
I bet.
Orthodox Church, our guys, they can marry.
Yeah.
And now here's the fucked up part. A lot of them are still pedophiles, so it doesn't fix the problem fully,
Yeah.
but it makes a huge dent in the whole child sex offender thing.
It really is a crazy thing to think that a church is so corrupt in that sense, but it's existed so long. Because it's so antithetical to, like, the things that those guys have done is so terrible, so truly, literally satanic. Like, it's the most satanic thing you can possibly do, just about.
I don't
Yet
get it at all
you're a
because I hate
representation-
kids.
I don't get that. I fucking love kids. They're the
But
greatest.
the idea of like them to me is like so upsetting.
I mean, we're gonna have to bleep all this. This is just me one like.
You're right. I'm sorry. I
what I
can
mean?
only see it of people doing it out of spite and hate. If you're like you hate children so much, you're doing a horrible thing to them. But that's
Well, it's because you hate yourself.
they claim they love them. They're like, no, it's my favorite. I prefer kids.
I don't know. I haven't gone on the rabbit hole with that, but you know what I mean. It's like
Oh, you
the
never
thing.
studied the Senate?
The Senate. Oh,
I'm kidding.
yeah. It's just crazy how dark it is. Like, it's so dark that there's some stuff documentaries like I can't watch this. It's just too dark. It's too sad. It's too heavy. Yet it's this thing. It's a religion that's supposed to be based on the opposite of what they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's what's crazy.
My friend Slavoj Žižek would say the paradox of this is precisely what they are looking for. Like when Baptist people they claim
And
they
they have
don't.
more spit in there.
Yeah.
The paradox. I can't even do it. Adomian does the ultimate Slav.
The best one. Yeah. Shout out James Adomian.
Gotta get him on here.
We have to.
I know. I've talked to him about it.
He's a seminal influence of mine.
I remember when I first started doing comedy here. James started a little bit before me.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing him one time at Zanku Chicken and being like, "Oh my God, it's James Adomian," and being like, "Yeah,
I met him on Zoom. I opened for him on a Zoom
Okay.
show during the horrible times,
yeah."
and then we hung out at someone's birthday party, and
You guys would get along because
we do. Yeah. I can tell I
is-
annoy him a lot, but he's like,
but that's a good thing
but he offers me so much time and gets like answers so many questions.
because
He's
you
so
guys
courteous.
are on these. You have the same feelings about a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
Whereas I feel
yes.
like I'm sort
But
of.
he's worked so
an
hard
apologist.
he's worked so hard to like be presentable and be like not this like emotional wreck, and I'm like not me, buddy. Like I am a nightmare sometimes.
I don't think that's true. I don't think you're a nightmare.
Well, you're my boss, so I show you a nicer side of me.
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, I'll tell you secrets off camera. There's a couple of Hollywood secrets. They're not good.
I'll tell you. You know what? Here, I'll show you this.
I got one Hollywood secret. I won't share.
People come in here and they're very flowery to you, and they really suck up to you because you're doing really well right now. You are. Your career's in an amazing spot.
But guys have been doing it for a long time.
That's true. You have.
Yeah, and I
But
haven't ever.
I think guys like me,
given up.
guys like me exist to just remind you a little humble things. You still haven't worked with Tim Allen.
So
Come on, how
do I need to work with Tim Allen?
how many years in this business you been here? 20.
I do love Tim Allen.
29
I
years,
used to watch
30
Home Improvement religiously.
I
watch Home Improvement.
was driving here. I saw another Tim Allen vehicle advertised on a billboard. I go, another.
I watched that show so much.
You know, he had DMX killed.
what?
Mm-hmm.
Because he was I know Tim Allen was a coke dealer.
Well, yeah, but after he got out of that and he was getting into show business, him and DMX had the same agent
Yeah.
who gave them the same advice. Just bark.
Just what?
Just bark.
Bark like on the streets in front of shows?
That's what he was telling them to do, but they misinterpreted it and they just did it in their act.
Wait, what?
So Tim
Are
Allen.
you joking?
No, this is. Yeah, I'm doing misinformation.
Oh, because I don't know DMX. I don't know DMX well enough, honestly.
He's always barking.
Oh, all I know about DMX is one time
He's
I
a
gave
rough
these-
rider.
I don't know anything about it. I don't know. So I have like a tiny window of rap knowledge, which is the Wu-Tang Clan and maybe like like I don't know, that's about it.
That's so
And
funny
even
to
then,
have
it's late Wu-Tang.
to have like a massive reggae knowledge, but like no rap knowledge is amazing.
Because reggae is much better than
I know,
rap.
no, I
and
know, I
Rap is
understand.
based on reggae.
I understand.
The Jamaicans invented rap
I know.
through and through. Like
I know.
I mean, I can't. Sometimes you listen to certain DJ reggae, and it's like rap if it sounded more melodic and interesting, except for a few examples. There's a few exceptions, but for the most part, it's just like more whatever.
I know what you're
It's
saying, but
fucking great.
sometimes when you're trying to further a concept or expand on an art form or whatever, you're like, I just really like the original thing more. I think like you get that feeling.
Yeah.
So in a way, you should be grateful for stuff that you don't like because you're like, this really
Oh,
solidifies.
I'm grateful for it. I really
This
am.
solidifies what I love.
Yeah, I just don't know DMX.
Like I called.
I really don't.
I don't know if you like doing. Can I do a little name droppy thing, and maybe you can decide to bleep it later.
Okay, ready?
I called Nikki Glazer. I texted her. I was
Say
like,
Nikki G.
I texted my friend Nikki G, Golden Globes host Nikki G, and I was like, "Did you hear Whitney Cummings died in the fire?"
Okay.
And she goes, "Stop! Are you joking? Are you for real? What do you do? Is this a bit?" And she like called me. And she's like, "Are you doing a bit?" I was like, "I am. I'm doing a bit because Whitney's like insane and doing misinformation, so I'm doing misinformation back about
Right.
her." And Nikki goes, "Okay, because you made me realize I love Whitney."
Why she started crying?
By saying that I think she died in
Yeah.
the fire. She goes, "You just made me realize I like my friend."
I love you, Whitney Cummings.
We love you, baby. We do. I think I would be sad if anyone died in the fires I knew.
Absolutely. But it's funny that like sometimes you have people that you go, I have to put you at a distance. I don't agree with what your stance is. I don't whatever. And then you go, wait, never mind. That doesn't matter. I love you as a person.
I don't feel that way about anybody.
You've never had to like distance yourself from someone going off the deep end, or
Not had to, but sort of like, I don't know.
you're never like friends with Owen Benjamin.
I knew him. I do remember when I remember this is a long time ago. This is probably like 2017, maybe 2018, when he was first like going off the deep end. And I remember someone tweeted something about him, and I replied to it. And then I get a message from someone, I think is Owen, being like, did he really talk? Something like, you talking shit about me or say something, I don't
Just
know.
immediately off the
Something
handle.
like that. And I was like,
yeah.
oh my God, he's seeing all this stuff.
Yeah.
But
Oh, he'll
yeah.
watch every traffic. We should
Yeah,
bleep his name.
He's an interesting guy, honestly. I think that he's like a really, I'm sort of fascinated by his trajectory in a way that is, because it's not like there's no one else who's been that type of, I don't even say crazy. He's like just this weird anomaly of sorts.
Yeah, you're right. Actually,
Because he's not an idiot.
most guys that go that crazy sort of end their life or get killed by the police, but he's just still alive and loves his
Yeah.
family and like being
he's-
anti-Semitic and insane.
Yeah, but he's like, I've watched a bunch of stuff he says, and it's just so interesting the way, I don't know how
His
to.
last thing is he doesn't believe in nuclear weapons. He's like, that's all fake. I lived in Hollywood. He's like, explain to me how the camera's still there when they're showing the fucking nuclear bombs in Arizona. I'm like, oh, damn, he's almost making a good point.
Yeah, it's like
starting to cook.
It's like, hey, bro, mirrors. Like, fuck! Mirrors ruin everything.
Ruined everything.
Hey, so they put a mirror up, and they have the camera. It's underground, and the mirror gets destroyed, but the camera doesn't.
What the fuck?
What do you mean? The nature of light is
So I'm the dim one?
Yeah, he's such a man.
But
what a
look,
what an
in my
interesting-
personal life, I agree with you. I don't cut people out.
Yeah.
I want to know from their mouth how crazy they are. But in my professional life, because I don't have much of a career, I have to follow the wind and the trends and be like, all right,
I think you shouldn't say that though.
to be honest about the
Yeah, I
fact
think
that
you
we have
shouldn't.
to pretend to
No, I
kowtow
think you
and
shouldn't
everything.
say. You shouldn't say I don't have much of a career.
Well, I'm not like upset or happy
I
about
know
it.
you're not,
I
but
think
I'm
it's
just
just
saying-
objective.
I don't think you should say that.
Why? What's the?
Because it's not objective. Because objective, it's not objective because it's perspective, and a perspective is not objective because there's no objectivity. You know about the
This
what's it
man's
called?
rhyming on my ass. He's
What's
dropping.
that shit called? It's called the observer effect.
Confederates bias, actually, is what it's called.
Is it really called
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Is that? But is that the same as?
Or
the
maybe I'm mistaken. But
because
maybe
the
that's
observer effect is the idea that if you observe something, it can't
it
be
behaves differently than when it's
right.
not. Yeah,
and
yeah.
so that's why they claim that nothing is. You're never truly documenting something. You're just you can be pretty sure, but you can never know for sure if the fact that you're observing the thing has affected the thing.
Yeah.
And so objective, because subjective, you're not being objective because you're, from your perspective, which is inherently flawed, and
Of
you're saying,
course.
like, there's this thing that people say about like career trajectory where you're on the outside and you don't know you're on the inside until it's too late, because you're trying to get into something, and next thing you know, like, wait a second,
But what if
I'm
you've
in the thing.
been inside and now you know you're back on the outside because you've been inside?
Well, yeah, but you don't. I think that's it's flawed perspective.
Probably, but all I know is I used to be able to pay my bills, and now I
Yeah,
can't.
but that's not like that. Fucking Sharon Stone didn't have health care for recently, and she's one of the
and
greatest.
that's
actresses
a bad
ever.
part of her life.
It is a bad part of her life, but it's not. It's not a reflection of. I guess you could say it's a reflection of her career.
Yeah.
But also,
I don't feel like my
Yeah.
talent and my career are different things. My skill
Yeah.
set and my whatever.
but talent is bullshit.
I
there's
don't
a
believe
great
in that.
song-
That's a funny thing to
There's a
say.
song by Sparks, I think, it's called "Talent is an Asset," which I always think
Ooh.
about that. It's like talent is just an asset.
It is. It's not everything.
It's
It's
nothing
just,
else.
Yeah.
Just like a thing where it's like, do you have a hammer and a saw? It's like I just have a hammer.
Just
Like,
have a
well,
hammer.
That's
Well,
good.
that's fine.
That's good.
But
you
you're a
want to
piece of
have
shit
a
still.
bunch of tools.
That's
This is-
where I'm so bitter, because I over leveraged focusing on talent rather than the whole
But
presentation.
bitterness is like the absolute worst thing that exists. I really think it's just the absolute most terrible.
It is.
hideous
If I
thing.
wasn't, the only thing that serves me is that it can be really funny, and it's
Yeah,
like
it can be.
It's a lane of funny people aren't willing to step into because they're like, I just want to be positive, and I'm like, well, then I'll take up all the negativity, baby.
You'll suck it up.
Yeah.
You'll be the sin eater.
I'm like I want to be the next great American hack. Honestly, I'm sick of people being like, I want to find a new way to do a unique. I'm like, let's just give them what they want. I want to be the slop guy.
You should do it. Get some watermelons.
I don't want to be. I want to combine all the tropes.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be the guy that my puppet is a watermelon.
My puppet's a watermelon. So you're killing a puppet every
My puppet's
time?
a watermelon, and its catchphrase is pro-Israeli and racist. I'm the ultimate spokesperson.
I do like all those guys. I remember I used to not like them. You know, all the guys that people say are hacky and stuff. All the guys who have multiple mansions in Vegas, like they're hacky.
I know more about those guys than the comedians I love.
Yeah,
Like,
because
I'm
those guys
obsessed
are
with
all
those guys.
they all work really hard and they're all pretty damn funny, but they're all also probably disturbed.
They also
in a
tell you
sense.
about the comedy business.
Yeah.
I don't think you can just look at the guys that are like, all they could do is stand up. They're dysfunctional. You know, like Norm couldn't drive.
He couldn't drive?
He was
Oh.
afraid of it. He was like, that's so terrifying. Moving a car. What the fuck?
He's right though.
He is right.
The older
but
I get, the more I'm like, I almost hit a guy's golf cart the other day. For
like,
real.
in your neighborhood.
No, I was leaving a hike, and you drive by this golf course,
Yeah.
and I didn't see the golf cart that was parked next to his car, and I almost fucking hit it because I had like some blurry vision on the side of my peripheral vision. I think because of probably heavy metals that I
Sure, sure.
ingested, and I got me really worried. He yelled at me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was his fault because he shouldn't park his
How the
fucking.
fuck does golf carts have right away? Are they like?
No, but it was white, and you know how glare is white.
Yeah.
So I didn't see it, and I also had this weird peripheral vision thing going on. But I just am so scared to drive more and more. I'm
We
so
should
scared
be.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Well,
fucking kill.
honestly,
It's
we're the-
terrible.
we're the only
Norm
guys-
is right. What I'm saying is anything Norm says is probably correct.
I don't even know where this rant started,
It
but
started with how Norm is
the-
really funny, maybe, or he's
the point is, like, you can't just look when you're trying to observe an art. You can't just look at the people who they have so much of that skill and that talent
Yeah.
that everyone around them is like, don't worry, we'll exploit you and we'll take care of you.
Oh,
We'll pay
yeah.
your bills. We'll figure out. You also got to look at the people who like made it based on marketing and industry and hard work and just
Yeah.
a speck of talent. Because both of those things together give you a picture of what that industry and that business is like.
yeah. But there's always a spectrum in everything.
Everything, absolutely.
Yeah, I saw something about. I mean, because there's always gonna be like those.
Except for
Wunderkind.
in internet service providers. Then it's actually just Spectrum in my
Yeah, I mean Monopoly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fucking Monopoly.
I wish I had a spectrum of spectrums, you know.
What do you think about the current state of the oligarchy in the United States?
I think we have some of the least impressive robber barons that we've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
The guys in like the 18th or no, the 19th century,
Right.
those guys, their big dick measuring contest was like, how many libraries can I build?
Oh,
How many-
what do you call it? In philanthropy.
Which philanthropy in and of itself isn't a good or moral thing. It's just making the working class more profitable to
It sure
you,
sounds
the
like
owners.
philandering.
It's very close, and you're doing one for the other sometimes.
Yeah. I built this bitch a library.
I built this whole fucking. You could throw me a little coos.
Yeah.
What's the nastiest way to describe a woman's nether regions?
100%. It is. Well, there's a couple.
I hate.
Coos is bad.
Coos is bad. Little clam.
You know what the worst is?
Oh.
It was on the tip of my tongue. Oh, literally. No, what is it? It's
puss.
the worst one. The worst one is.
Gussy.
Okay. There's. God, what
That's
is
mine.
it?
That's girl pussy.
Oh, there's strange is the best.
Oh, strange.
never heard
That's your
strange?
favorite one?
No, strange is the most funny.
I touched her strange.
Strange isn't the item. Strange is like the woman.
I thought you were getting some strange.
You're getting
That's
some
what,
strange,
you know,
yeah. But the worst one,
which is very dehumanizing,
God,
which makes
what
it
is it?
funny.
Oh my God, there's one that's so good because you got
Little puss.
well, snatch is pretty nasty. Snatch is
Sucks,
bad.
dude. But I would, if someone's like, "Hey, you guys up for some snatch?" You want
I can't think what it is. I'm glad I can't remember what
clam?
it
I
is.
think is one of the
I think
all-time.
clam is clam's kind of boring.
Really?
Yeah, clam.
The clam. It's because it implies a smell. It implies you got to bake it.
In high school, we called it cookie. That was the code word.
That's very Midwestern.
And
I
not
like
cookies, but cookie. My friend got in the
I
yearbook
love that.
once. Was like, "What do you want? What are you hoping for Christmas?" She's like, "A little cookie,
that. A little nut.
a little cookie."
I do it all.
It
for
made
the
it past the
cookie.
filters.
Yeah.
Cookie.
Well, that's a fun thing. You know how we all have to like leave TikTok and switch to Red Note?
It's not going away now.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, Trump lied?
There was a stay of execution.
No.
Yeah, they extended it like 297 days or some bullshit.
They rescinded that this morning.
What?
Yeah.
How can you do that? Someone can. I don't get that.
Content.
Fuck me, man.
They said, "Counselor, I call psych." Motion to
Oh, I was so excited about that.
motion to Uno reverse.
What is that? That means if they can rescind it, that means they can also reinstate
But
it.
either way,
right?
we're all having to get on. What's the app called? Red Dawn.
I downloaded it just to download it.
just to have it.
Because it's like, if you download it, that means the numbers in the App Store are so big that they're like, oh my God, all the people have it.
You got to be careful. You're an actual celebrity. They might be like in China. They're like, see, the robot is on our fucking.
Yeah, but I haven't posted anything, and all that stuff. It's so funny. All like the whole privacy.
The
stuff
reason
is
I brought it
bullshit.
up is because of the censorship stuff, right? So like,
Right.
China's been dealing with censorship for way longer than we have.
Yeah.
We've been dealing with it since like 2016, and we're like up to we're like, oh, I'm gonna
Like
kill. I
tech,
can't.
tech censorship.
Tech censorship, which
No.
is most censorship.
Yeah, well, the newest form of it.
Yes. Yeah. And true, we had McCarthyism and we had all this kind
Yeah.
of different. Well, sure. But the one that really has affected us in the postmodernist world is this tech
Tech.
stuff. So in China, one of the things they do, because they have censorship up their ass, they can't even name certain things. They can't say certain
Yeah.
terms. They just over glorify people in a way that you're like, oh, clearly you're trying to talk shit on this.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, if someone that you didn't like,
Yeah.
you know, you can't say that you don't like them. You might not even be able to say like objective things that they did poorly.
Yeah.
So one of the ways that you could talk shit on them, you're like, obviously this is like George Bush, greatest president, best president of all time. Should have had a
wow.
third term.
So it's almost like that's so
It's-
funny. You're saying it's obviously untrue.
It's
So
so
the
it's so
person
untrue and
knows-
so so much flattering that you're like, wow, you really fucking hate this guy.
That's good. I like that.
That's the future of our like talking shit. I think we're
Yeah.
gonna have.
Bondar's career is going great.
yeah.
He's really taking off.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
Unstoppable.
That's a little bit why,
So
but
many tools.
Genius.
I think false humility it goes both ways. You know, sometimes people are like, "Oh, I'm just doing okay," you know, and they're like, "You're doing amazing. You should say you're doing amazing." And then sometimes people are like me. I'm like, "I'm not doing great. I'm very happy."
Yeah.
Well, when I'm on drugs, I'm very happy. And then in the in between time, I'm a little empty. But it's fine. It might get better. It might not. It doesn't matter. My life is a meaningless speck in the big bowl of soup of all the meaningless, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't believe in manifesting or talking
really?
your way into positive
Well,
thinking.
Not believing in manifesting is literally not manifesting.
I'm just too.
That's like sort of saying, you know,
That's
if you don't
funny.
believe in it, that is just you're not doing it.
Which is that's how our ideology works these days. We don't need to believe in it for us to subscribe to it.
You do have to.
No, you don't.
You can subscribe to it, but it's not going to work.
No, there's another thing Slavoj always talks about. You ever seen his story with Niels Bohr, the physicist?
I haven't, but
But you know who Niels is?
Yes.
So he has in his country home a horseshoe above his doorway.
Yeah, so do I.
And and all his science friends, they go, "What is this folklore tradition thing? You were a science guy. I thought you were like an atheist." And all this. What do you? And he goes, "Well, that's the beauty of it. I was told it works even if I don't believe in it." That's
But that's believing in it.
in the
That's just like a. That's
in
like
the
a
base minimum way.
What that is? That's like a, what do you call it? A language. What do they call it when
Like
you,
a trick, a paradox.
Yeah, or it's called. It's like a.
I think he was saying it on purpose. I think he was making like a point to say that like that's how some ideological structures can work now. Where like
Yeah.
my dad might be a hardcore establishment Democrat and I might be like basically a communist.
Right.
And we still end up voting for Kamala. So he's 99% in his ideology. I'm 1% into whatever, but we still have the same end result.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the message of it is. It's like we don't need to. Our ideology is stronger now, so we don't need to believe in it. It's like fentanyl. We only need a little fucking bump. It's 100 times stronger than what our fucking parents were railing.
I guess it's very. I don't know, because there's also so much about science that we truly do not know. So how can you say, "Oh, this doesn't work"?
Yeah.
You don't know it. You don't know it doesn't work because we don't know everything.
Yeah,
Like
true.
every
Of course.
every day, every week, every year.
That's why I'm
we
just
learn
careful to
stuff
say
like,
I
we didn't
believe or
know.
don't believe.
Oh, the universe is 51% dark matter. That we don't even. We just figure that out.
I love that.
But that's such a huge thing. That's such a massive piece of knowledge that we didn't know. Our parents' generation did not know that. But to know that now is like, oh, so basically we exist in the minority. Like our literal existence is the minority of matter. That's fucking psychotically insane, world-changing thing. But it has no bearing on anything, technically. But it does, because it means, oh, there's so much we don't know.
It both does and doesn't. Isn't that the beautiful part?
Yeah, but it means that there's so much we don't know that the idea to say that anything is correct is like
Yeah,
maybe
it's
it's an
meaningless.
accident. It's
Yeah.
sort of we know this to be a law, but maybe only we know it to be a law because things are lining up in our super limited perspective, and it seems like it's true when really it's just like such a wide. It's like a fucking if you threw a ball into a massive field. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's some sort of thing where it landed in a space when really you're acting like the space is narrow when it's so big that it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
That's why I think about. So that's why it's always crazy to me when scientists are atheists. They can both exist so easily. The idea of being a scientist and believing in God.
They can, and they're the minority. There's like 10% of scientists or something,
or believe in.
or
But also, it's not the same as like being a religious person. Not the same as being like, oh yeah, I like believe in.
I don't think that's a real statistic. I think that scientists are smart enough to be like, I don't answer shit like that, honestly. Like,
Oh right, yeah, you never do that because
Like, are you
might lose your
insane?
grant.
where's this going? The census of whose country? The People's
Catholic
Republic of what?
microbiologist.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like God is a bacteria.
yeah. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Put down whatever the rest of the group put down. That's what I am.
Well, what's that attractive guy voting for?
Yeah. I'm the regression to the mean. That's my.
What's Neil deGrasse saying about this shit?
Exactly. Yes.
That's what I'm saying, bro. You can be both. Always be both.
Well,
Everything is both all the
the
time.
hardest thing
Just
is
be
to
both.
hold two truths.
Be
That
Catholic, but respect children. That's what I'm saying.
Damn, get her done.
Respect the children. Get her done. The Catholics beat the English.
They did.
They did. Sort of. Or did the English be like, we'll pretend as though we've been beaten. That's what I think.
English
though.
are so good at that.
To the
We'll
ultimate.
pretend. That's what they did with America. We'll pretend we lost that one.
Yeah, I guess we'll pretend we've lost that.
But go on. You go ahead and spread our ideology and colonization strategies.
Continue using our common law, but
Yes.
call it yours.
Yes. And you know what? When you need to launder our money, go ahead and do it in London. Be the
Have you
easier.
seen that Colin Quinn special? The first one he did. I think it's called. God, he's done a bunch of them, but there's one where he talks about how the British invented looking down on people.
Yes.
They go to a foreign country like, so you live like this?
Yeah.
Like the best joke ever is they invented disdain as they weaponized disdain.
Yeah. And really, if those same colonial, if the people that are being settled went to Great Britain, they're like, wait, you live like this? This is why you're looking for breakfast all over the fucking world. This sucks. This makes me want to kill myself immediately. The weather here is bad for your brain.
I like the weather there. I like it a lot.
I like it too, but
like the food,
can you
too.
imagine coming from an island, like a real island, and then going to the British Isles? You're like, this is not an island.
Yeah, it's a big island.
Where's the goat curry?
It's the big island. It's like Hawaii. That's what I mean when I go on to the big island. I'm going
to
GB.
the UK.
This is a good sound, isn't it? This is Psycho, right?
That's a great sound. You know what sucks about Great Britain? They kind of did capitalism for the longest, from like 16th century.
Yeah.
Like they were like the leaders of it
Right.
until the 20th century.
They invented it, kind of, right?
And then in the 20th century to now, 2 different communist countries surpassed them economically. First the Soviet Union, then that dissolved, and then China.
But that's because
They just let them. They were like,
well, because
look,
they
we
gave
don't-
up all their colonies.
We don't want to poison. Factories cause poison. We don't want that in our backyard. So you poison yourselves. But China's like, we'll do that for a little bit, and then eventually we'll own all the shit.
Yeah, but they don't have an army though.
China?
Not like us.
I mean, they got 1.1 billion people. They don't need an army.
Yeah, they
They
don't
got.
have.
They're most of the people.
Doesn't matter. They don't have aircraft carriers. They don't have.
That's true.
They don't have a bunch of
That's true.
ICBMs. They don't have
don't.
F-35 Raptors.
They're
they
not.
Don't have,
They're not. They're not
They
going.
don't have like thousands and thousands
Absolutely.
of planes
Militarily,
loaded with
there's
weapons.
no. All of the other countries in the
Yeah.
world would have to combine against the U.S., and the
Yeah.
U.S. would still probably dog walk everybody. But
dog walk. That's a good one.
yeah, it's a southern one.
Yeah.
I'm from the south. But China's not interested in fighting in that terrain. They're fighting by making the
Hearts and minds.
that's banks.
Yeah.
They're making the IMF look like, hey, these are a bunch of fucking colonizer terrorists. These guys are giving you shitty loans that'll fuck up your whole government. Meanwhile, we'll just give you some money that mostly we'll forgive. Can we use the airport every now and again? They're going way beyond hearts and minds. They're making people. They're raising their enemies sometimes from like global poverty to global middle class. That's going to go a long way if there's ever actually conflict.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to trust any of our allies.
Oh, that's a good idea. I didn't think about that. Good idea, China.
It's kind of like how 9/11 was like, we all agree that's a blowback situation. We fucked over some people and then it kind of blew up in our face. China's like, you can use that for positive. Like you can
Yeah, you can invade.
do the
Iraq.
inverse of that. You don't have to invade anybody. You can
Oh, you
give-
mean like be really nice?
you could be really good and then maybe you get good blowback in the future.
carrot and stick.
Investing, I think, is what
Yeah.
the capitalists would call it.
Investing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola imperialism, maybe.
There you go.
Yeah.
That never hurt. No one hates Coca-Cola.
No.
They hate Nestle. We all know they're evil. Fucked. I'm sure Coca-Cola's killed as many babies as
Yeah,
Nestle.
they probably have. I mean, different way though.
You know what? Respect.
Yeah.
How do you kill babies?
You just stop feeding them. They kill them. That's considered suicide. Beep, 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 beep,
That's the
beep,
cheapest
beep,
way to
beep,
do it,
beep,
honestly.
beep, beep, beep. What else we got here?
You got anything you're plugging here, Jimbo?
I got nothing to plug. I'm plugging this.
That's true.
How about you?
Me? I got a special on YouTube. It's
That's right.
called Modern Artism. You mind if I-
Is it called modern autism or modern
Modern Artism.
artism?
And it's a play on modern art and autism. It's making. How dare he?
I wonder if it even picks up. It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, yes. We're trying to get it on KLM in-flight stuff too, but they
Oh my God, that would be great.
they said it's too anti-Belgian, so we're
the
working.
Belgians are the tiniest controlling country, aren't they?
If
Maybe
Hitler,
the Dutch.
if Hitler wasn't so prominent in the history books, we'd be reading a lot about King Leopold.
Oh right, aren't the Belgians the really? I'm thinking of the Portuguese, right? They're the ones who are like super bad in Africa, aren't they?
I think
Or
every
the Belgians?
there's not a single colony that you could be like, no, they were pretty good. In
Isn't there,
Africa.
isn't there one that's like, oh God, wow, you did that?
I think the Belgians. I
Yeah.
think South Africa and Rhodesia and all that shit. They were so crazy that the British were like, we don't even claim you no more.
Yeah,
You're your own fucked up, weird kind of Dutch derivative thing, the Boers
Yeah.
or whatever.
the borders.
I'm also I'm speaking with like too much confidence. I don't know 100%.
It's all
These
it's
are the
all-
broad strokes of
it's all
colonialism.
It's all
that
mishmash.
I think it's I think it's more cool to not know about colonialists. Like we know too many facts about Hitler. We know too many facts about like the guys
Because
that like.
his stuff is like exciting because he was so bad.
It's also just because like the History Channel guys are lazy and they're like, let's just. This is already a salient topic.
Well, I know it's that way because I was obsessed with him as a kid. I loved World War II
Everybody.
because
but
he
then
was
you-
such a clear bad guy that you're like, oh, this guy did all this stuff, and it's so the lines were very clear, so it's easy
But
for.
there's so many interesting leaders in World War II. Do you know anything about Charles de Gaulle?
Not only that he has an airport.
He
He
does.
was French, right?
He's French.
Mhm.
He's so important as like a 20th century figure.
Man.
I mean, he survived. Hitler did not survive World War II.
Yeah.
Charles de Gaulle is like a right-wing military general who was able to basically do a lot of socialist-style policy. Because when you're a right-wing guy and you do socialist stuff,
Yeah.
everyone's like, he's just a patriot. He loves his country. If you're left-wing, they're like, he's selling out the country to the Jews. He's fucking it up, whatever. So he was able to like navigate ideological stuff perfectly, work with Churchill, work with FDR, work with Stalin.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know shit about him.
No.
We know what
I
kind.
don't.
We know what kind of jams and jellies Hitler ate. We know.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting how it's like so.
It's because it's overproduced. It's because they feed us that.
Mm-hmm.
Stalin, he was the longest leader of the Soviet Union, but also one of the longest contiguous non-royal leaders of all time.
Oh, really?
Takes power in 23, dies in like 56.
Good guy.
No, but people don't know shit. They're like, I heard he killed more people than Hitler. You're like,
Yeah, well, everyone
Not
says
true
that.
at all.
I said that too until I realized.
easy to verify that is not clear
Yeah.
or correct.
Not easy to verify.
It is actually because you could just look at population records.
What if you look at like Wikipedia? Is it going to say that?
Yes.
It really will say like a note. Stalin,
No,
not so
I don't know
bad.
actually, but one of the things that
Stalin, not as bad as remembered.
one of the things Wikipedia will clear up is that like not all of those numbers are like unverified, uncontested.
Right.
People are throwing out numbers. Some historians say this, some whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas with Hitler, you're like, this is clearly what it is. There are several websites dedicated to all the registries.
Yeah.
So that's my contrast where I tell people, I'm like, if Stalin killed all those people, their descendants and all
Where did they
whatever,
go?
they would be trying to get reparations, and the current Russian government and a lot of the post-communist governments do give reparations to a lot of the victims of communism, and it's a lot of small families.
Right.
It's not a crazy number. It's not fucking 6 million. It's not 11 million.
Well,
Anyway, Goebbels was very good at what he did, which was writing anti-Soviet propaganda. That's why people believe Stalin killed more people than Hitler,
Yeah, that's crazy to me that guy.
even though we teamed up with Stalin. FDR was like, this guy's pretty cool. I kind
was?
of like him. They met in Yalta. FDR, Stalin, and Winston Churchill met during the war. And
For drinks.
I mean, drinks and military stuff. And Churchill and Stalin did not get along at all.
Okay.
And Stalin and FDR were like, it's kind of buddies. These guys are cool.
Yeah, that makes sense though, because it's like you don't like yourself.
That's so interesting. No,
know?
I think it was because they were very clearly on other sides of the political spectrum. And FDR was right smack dab in between them. He's like, yes, I'm a capitalist, but I'm, this like hardcore liberal, New Deal,
Right.
like nationalizing part of the government,
That's true.
He was right smack dab in between them. And he also had to use them both.
Should do a history show.
I should call it disinformation.
I would watch it. I like that stuff. I think that's more interesting than a lot of other things that people do when they do something that's like a thematic presentation of something, because very few people can present it. I mean, all those Colin Quinn specials, I fucking love them because they're super
Absolutely.
interesting.
Absolutely.
He's obviously interesting because he's such a.
But he had to be a name. Whenever people tell me, like, you should do this, I'm like, I would love to.
Yeah,
but
I don't think that's true. You can just do something
Absolutely.
and get going with it, because there's how much information is out there. You can tell the same thing 10 different times and maybe it doesn't hit until the 9th, and it doesn't matter that you're saying the same thing. Every director makes the same movie over and over again, and sometimes they make one that people like, and then people are like, did you see
That's so
Ding
freeing.
Dong Wolves in the Outpost, his second movie? Like, no. And you watch it like, oh, this is the same as the big one. Like every John Hughes movie is the same movie.
Like I said, the culture exchange we do is you give me so much freedom with the perspectives that you have, because I'm very locked into like,
Yeah.
you have to get attention, you have to be known for stuff, and then you can make something interesting or cool.
Not at all. Just do this. Everyone's done the same thing over and over and over again because they can't help it. Even people who don't do that much, they end up doing the same thing over and over again. And then it hits, and then it's just like nobody. I remember so long trying to do new material at every show. Then I realized, oh, it doesn't fucking
They're not
matter at all.
paying- yeah,
Nobody
no.
cares at all. So why would you stress out about that when you
But
can do it from time to time and whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's like there's no
I don't
point.
want to. I don't want to land it home too much on this, but I think I told you this before. When I started doing stand up like 12 years ago, I was one of the most attractive male comedians. And
This
now,
is total bullshit.
now I'm not even like hot enough to be a writer on the
well,
Bear.
are you not, what do you mean? What happened? Did you didn't get burned by acid?
No, I'm just saying I stayed the same level of whatever, but there's more and more
Nah, this
male
is-
model looking comics
No, there's not.
left
There's
and right.
not. There's like 2 of them, and they look scary.
I
Women
think-
do not like the people. I'm not even gonna say. I don't want to even say names because
We're not going to say names.
But those people we're talking about,
because their names are unpronounceable. It's that German guy from
they look scary to normal people. They look
Absolutely.
like oh, if you saw them lit a certain way, you'd be oh fuck, scary.
Absolutely. But that's who people are investing in is the
No.
talent of the future because they're
No,
the
they're
best
not.
spokespeople.
They're not. It's just all temporary. It's like riding a current wave. They're not investing anything.
I hope you're right.
I am right. 100% right.
They're complaining about how they get too much work, and I'm over here trying to drum up fake business. So
I mean, I don't know even who we're talking about, but all I know is that there's room for everybody.
I hope so, because if not, I'm going to come steal.
Okay. Thank you for stealing. Thank you for letting me steal your
Thanks
time.
for having me. This
Yeah.
is my favorite pod, and it's great to. I brought my own producer.
Look at all the cameras.
We overproduced it.
We perfectly produced.
We did 2 producers,
Perfectly
1 Johnny
produced.
this time.
Yes.